Hello everyone, Christina here. Welcome back to another live stream here on my YouTube channel. I'm a little jet lagged. I just got back from vacation yesterday. So please be patient with me if I am not as sharp as usual because my brain is not in crafting mode yet. I am like itching to get in and create with all of you, but that's why if I'm a little slow. So hello to everyone over in the chat. Hi, Sika. Sika was with me on vacation. Sika, how's the jet lag? Are you dragging today as well? I'm dragging. I'm not a dragon. I am dragging. I should specify. Yes, I have slept. Ashley's asking if I've slept at all. I did sleep for about 4 hours right when I got home. And then I slept probably about another 4 or 5 last night. But I'm just exhausted. What is it? It just wipes it out of you, right? Yeah, Sika says dragging so badly, right? It's crazy. Well, I want to let you guys know, if you didn't see already, that mail call is scheduled for Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. So I hope you'll come back and join me. I was considering doing mail call tonight because it is considerably later than usual in the month for me to do a mail call video and open the mail. But I realized that tonight would probably be a little bit low energy for me. So it might be best to do some crafting, and we will do all the excitement with opening the mail on Wednesday. So please come back and join me on Wednesday afternoon. I'm trying to think if there's any other announcements that I need to, I think that's about it. I think we're going to jump into it. Some of you are saying thank you for the Instagram stories and that you watched my Instagram stories. Yeah, if you'd like to see more of what adventures we got up to in, let's see, Spain, Malta, Turkey, and Greece, you can check out my Instagram. In fact, just today, I went for my allergy shots. In fact, my arm's probably all red. Is my arm all red? I can't tell. I went for my allergy shots today, and they make you wait in the waiting room for about 30 minutes after your shots, just to make sure you don't have a bad reaction. I've never had a bad reaction, so I wasn't expecting one, but they still make me stay for 30 minutes. And so I was just killing time. And I thought, you know what? I'll go through my Instagram stories and I'll put them in highlights for the Mediterranean cruise. So if you go to my Instagram, it's linked down below. My Instagram name is Star of May because I love stars and I was born in May. So go there. And then the three little circles, those are my highlights from my Instagram stories. And I had to split it up into 3 different highlights. They're Med Cruise 1, Med Cruise 2, and Med Cruise 3. And you can just watch all of our adventures all the way until we come home. So, and lots of, like, I would say probably half of all of the Instagram stories is food, like what I was eating on the cruise, because this cruise ship had wonderful food in the restaurants. We were on the Celebrity Ascent. So Celebrity Cruises, their ship that's called Ascent, and the food was just really spectacular. The cruise I went on with Jennifer last summer to Alaska was also on Celebrity. So I knew what to expect as far as food goes. In fact, there were some favorites that we had on the cruise ship last year that reappeared this year, and that was a lot of fun. Vicky, yes, food and cats. Yes. I will say, you know what? Whenever I travel, whenever I go places, I love to find all of the cats. I like to find all the cats, see all the kitties, pet them. They're just fun. I love it. Yes. Oh, sure. The other half is cats. Yeah. Yeah. Cats and food. You can see my priorities here, right? Okay. Let's jump into what I'm going to be creating tonight. So I thought, you know, while I was gone, my July 2025 release came out. And this was one of my favorite cards that I created using my brand new release products. This actually has 3 different products used on it. We have the Daisy Bouquet Stencil, and then I have this die cut from the More Thin Frames dies. There are frames for the actual, you know, that make up the bulk of the die set, but inside the frames, because there was space, I decided to use the space for some die cut greetings. So there's a greeting that I'm going to be using. And then this kind of kind of almost like water droplet texture was created using one of the Splatter texture stencils. So I'm actually going to recreate this card tonight. I'm going to change up the colors just a tiny bit, just for fun, for funsies, and we're going to go from there. Oh, thank you. Ashley says, such a good release. Thank you so much for that. Sylvia in the chat, I can speak for that. You love cats. Yes, it's true. When we were in Maui, and Sylvia was there, I believe, we went to a cat cafe. We did see, where was it? Ooh, was it Athens? Yes, in Athens we saw an ad for a cat cafe. We didn't go though. We had other plans that day. We went to go see some ancient ruins. Okay, so let's start out with the stenciling. So this is the Daisy Bouquet stencil set. When you put them all together, they look like this, or here's an actual example, right? There are, I think, 4 stencils. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and then this top one, which I put a little bit of Pixie Spray on the back. So it's just ever so slightly tacky on the back. And it does help when it comes to all of the stenciling to do that for this particular stencil. So let's get into it. I think I'm going to stencil onto a larger piece of cardstock. I'm just going to use like a, what is this? I think it's half a sheet of regular. It's 5.5 by 8.5. So I'm going to be stenciling on this because I haven't decided quite yet if I want to do a 5x7 card or maybe even a, like a A2 card. I haven't quite decided yet. Okay, I'm putting this down. This is my Altenew little grip mat. It's the large and 9x12. And I'm just going to go ahead and put my paper down right here. We're good. We'll start with this. In fact, I'm going to start with this particular stencil. So this is the one that I put Pixie Spray on the back. Pixie Spray, if you've never used it before, is, well, they describe it as a light tack repositionable adhesive for stencils. That's exactly what it is. You spray it on the back of your stencil, and it puts just the teeny tiniest little itty bitty tackiness onto the back of the stencil, so it holds to your paper and it doesn't move around. I find it works really well for stencils that have little intricate areas like this. I did, when I was testing this stencil, I did use it without Pixie Spray, and it is possible to do the stencil without Pixie Spray. You just have to be a little bit more gentle and not like, do your ink blending too aggressively. But I find that Pixie Spray really does help. So I went ahead and applied it here. So I'm going to do the background. Let me show you. This is the blue area, the navy blue area on this card. I thought I would change it up, and let's do the background in a dark green, kind of a dark muted green, teal green. This is Rainforest from Concord and Ninth. I thought that would be a really pretty kind of change, but still have that same kind of dark vibe. So I'm going to be using a mini blending brush from Altenew. I find it works really well for these areas right around the flowers where you kind of have to get into the crevices of the daisies. I found that just easiest to do that. And I'm also going to try to not apply too much ink right off the bat, because I've noticed, especially with these Concord and Ninth stencils, or those stencils in my line that are manufactured by Concord and Ninth, that because they use a thicker stencil material, if you're not careful, you can really get a lot of ink pooling in the crevices of the stencil itself, and then you can get some bleeding underneath the stencil. So I find it better to almost start with a more dry brush, if your ink's not too juicy, and then build up from there, because otherwise you can really get a lot of kind of like that pooling in the corners. Okay, this is looking pretty good. It's pretty even. I think it will actually, dry back and even out even more. Clean up this stencil. I'm going to try and not get ink all over myself. Let's see how we did with not having the ink pool in the corners. Looks like you did great. Look at that. Almost has this like velvet texture right now, doesn't it? Isn't that interesting? Next, I'm going to do the flowers themselves. Let's get this lined up the best I can. And the color I've chosen for, well, colors I've chosen for the flowers are Buttercup, Wildberry, and Fig. They're somewhat similar to what I used over here, but over here I used Honeycomb, let's see, Honeycomb, Dragon Fruit, and Plumberry. So kind of like similar shades, but these are just a little bit different. I'm going to start with Buttercup. Before we do the centers of the flowers, let's do the leaves, stems and leaves, I should say. Okay, that's looking pretty good, right about right there. Okay, I chose Tidepool. Tidepool is the same color I used on the original, this one right here, so I'm going to use Tidepool again. Lovely. It's looking nice and dramatic. We love that. Okay, now we have the centers of the flowers, and I really should have taken note of where these were going, but I really didn't. You know, I guess I could do this. I'm going to put the stems on top, and then I can kind of get the stems lined up, you know, roughly lined up where they're on the project. Press that down. Then I can just slide this off, and then the centers are in the right spot. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the Buttercup, and over here it's already the color, so I might have to do a little bit of Wildberry just down in that spot. So I'll do just a little bit of Wildberry for the centers on the yellow flowers. And then I'm going to switch to Buttercup. I think that should work okay. Okay, I don't know if you can see, but up here I had some of that like pooling of color that I was talking about because that yellow was pretty juicy. I'm going to leave it. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. But I'm going to come back and I'm going to put this stencil back over the top. And then we're going to add that splatter texture. And I'll just use a white pigment ink for that. Also in the release, we have the Splatter Texture Bundle, which has these 3 products in it. We've got the background stamp, which has like this kind of cool gradient from like really intense kind of splattery to more like, you know, dispersed. We got the Splatter Texture Stencils. So you've got one that's really kind of airy and open and one that has a little more intensity. And then there are Splatter Texture Stamps. So you can add a little bit of texture onto your projects. And they're broken into individual pieces, but you could also have them all together. Just mount them all together on your stamping tool or acrylic block and stamp them all the same time. So I guess I could even do that texture, or I could do the stencil. I'm trying to decide. I think I'll stencil. I think I'll just keep it to stenciling. Okay, all right, so here are the two stencils. I'm just trying to decide which I want to do. The one that's more airy or the one that's, yeah, we'll just put this right over top. It just needs it. See how that looks before I peel it up. I think that looks pretty good. Just adding a little bit of that texture. Almost looks like little, you know, a little bokeh effect happening. And then now I'll lift this up, and it's not on the flowers at all. It's just the background. So now I'm going to ink blend from the bottom, but I hate to ink blend onto straight paper on top of these grip mats. So I'm going to do it on some paper, and I'm going to clean up my grip mat first. And then I'm going to take my project that I've been working on, and I just want to ink blend from the bottom a little bit. Like on this original card, I had a little bit more of the blue coming out on the bottom, and that's so that this white greeting would stand out over top. So I want to help do that again. So I'm going to come in with Rainforest, and it's just going to darken up the bottom just so it's a little bit easier to see that white greeting on top. And it does cut back on the brightness of the yellow flowers, but I think it's a necessary sacrifice to make sure that the greeting really stands out. I'm hoping that'll be enough. I think it might be. That's about how high this other one went up. So I'm just going to cut this down so that it's, you know, 5 inches wide, basically. That's all I really need. Okay, so I'm going to have this right here, but I need to have my stacked greeting that's going to go on the bottom. So I'm going to cut that now, and I've prepped a piece of white cardstock with the Altenew double adhesive sheet. And I just found it was so much easier to stack this particular die cut, this particular die, when it was on the double adhesive sheet. It just made it so much easier. So the die set it comes from is actually from the More Thin Frames A2 and A7 dies. And you'll notice that it's actually missing those frames, and that's because I took them off, like this is supposed to be right here. I'm actually storing those on the same magnet sheets as my other thin frames. So when I designed the more thin frames, I made them perfectly sized to just fit right in between. So if you store your dies like I do, you can just have them go in just like that. And then these individual die cut gratings, I'm just gonna have to put them on a different board or in a different pocket. I just haven't done it yet. Let's peel this up. Looks like I got both dots on the eyes. So let's get those eyes out first so I don't lose them. Okay. So I'll just do my little interiors again. Okay, lift that up, got all the right spots. And then I am going to add some liquid glue to the back of this one, even though it is sticky still. But I think to make it really stick to the ink blended background, I think I'm going to have to do that. Cannot get this piece. There we go. Okay. Trying to get that up in the right spot so it lines up with the dots on the eyes that I've already adhered. Pretty good. Put that paperweight on there. I'll just hold it down for a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to get everything ready for the card front. All right, probably should have just adhered this to the card front before I adhered the grading, but that's okay. So it's nice and straight. Okay, not bad. And I think if you wanted to make it even more dramatic, like you wanted the dark color everywhere, you could have used like a Rainforest or even Midnight on the top and bottom. I think that could be really pretty. All right, I'm going to put that right there for just a moment. I'll clean up my space just a little bit. So the main products that I use for this card are listed down below. The Daisy Bouquet Stencil, the Splatter Texture Stencils, and the More Thin Frames A2 and A7 dies. That's the die set that has this greeting in it. So here is the finished card for tonight. You can see that there's just a little bit of a color difference between the two cards. I think they both turned out great. By putting it on a 5x7 card, I was able to use a little bit more of the finished image area from the stencil. And I also did the splatter texture. I did that with the background stencil already on the project, so it did block out the flowers, whereas over here I did the splatter texture over the entire image. So just a little bit of a different look with that. You can kind of play around with that. All the supplies are listed down below in the video description, so I hope you'll check that out. And don't forget that mail call is this Wednesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. I hope you'll join me, and we're going to be opening cards with the theme of nature. So it could be flowers, it could be sunset scenes, it could be whatever. I have no clue. In fact, I need to stop by my mailbox and pick up more of the mail because it's been waiting for me since I was out of town. So we're going to open the mail on Wednesday, so I hope you'll join me. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you in another video very soon.